Okay, everyone, welcome back. Tonight, I figured I would go through and actually do some system command line work. It's a project I know I've featured here a couple times, done some work on it in the past, but today there was a bunch of meetings and discussions on it, and so I figured, yeah, let's do it. Hang on, I gotta get all my ducks in a row. Time for me right now. So I start my streams at 9 p.m. local time. So I have two young kids, and so as much as I would love to start streams earlier, it is just not practical for me to do so before I get kids in bed, everyone down for the night, and I'm a bit of a night owl, and I have highly caffeinated beverages. So, and one of my lovely colleagues got me some Baja Blast Mountain Dew this morning, so I was tickled to death. It's great. So let's see here. So let's dive over here. So for those people who may not be familiar with it, hey Justin Bieber, welcome back. There's the link to the System Command Line library, and if people are interested, there was an API review on YouTube earlier. This is 2 hours long and probably a lot more boring for people who are looking for a cursory introduction to System Command Line. If you want a better one, if you're looking to learn the library, hang on, there's one in here. Yeah, this one. So if you want a better one to learn about, boom, this video here, which was a user group meet that I did. So pictured on the left is my boss, Mark Michaelis. Pictured on the right is John Sequoia, principal Microsoft developer. One could argue he is the development lead for the System Command Line project. He has done the lion's share of a lot of the work and tends to try to corral people. So he's kind of the de facto tech lead on it due to his significant involvement. So, but if people are interested in it, this is the library. I won't spend a ton of time diving into it, but I did want to call out, I'm just going to be spamming links tonight. Here we go. Because this time I actually had time to prep my links ahead of time. Booyah. So, like, for example, I started building out this streaming tools repo where I was going to put in a bunch of my automations that I've built for automating my stream. So for those who don't know, I stream on Twitch, but the videos end up on YouTube. I spend zero time doing that. Well, not completely zero time. I review the descriptions, edit the YouTube descriptions, schedule the deployment time, and out it goes. And that little scheduling step is the only thing that's manual because I wanted to check it before. I don't fully trust my automation. I mostly trust it, but I wanted to check it before I hit the go button. But things like just generating the thumbnail for my YouTube videos, yeah, it's a command line app. And I use System Command Line as my means of generating it out. So it's a simple command, takes a bunch of options. The options do work. I use Skia Sharp to take a base image, and I draw some text at predefined locations, which is pretty cool. And if anyone cares, my blank backgrounds, for people who've seen my YouTube thumbnails, you'll note some of them look remarkably similar to this with some text. So that's the secret sauce. Is I wrote some code and it generates an image. And there's not a lot of error checking to make sure that the text doesn't like just overflow or anything weird. So I check my work a little bit. So, but it makes for a nice, easy way. And that's what System Command Line aims to do, is when you want to build a command line application, this is using C# top level statements, by the way, which is why you don't see the main method or the program CS as you, or the regular program class that you would normally see here. You just see using and then straight into code. But this is what it aims to do, is when you have a simple command line app that you want to build, or even a complex one, this library aims to make it stupid easy. Yeah, Skia Sharp. If you are looking for so there's two imaging libraries that I go back and forth between. Skia Sharp is really great if you want to do anything with like making images pretty. or resizing or cropping or kind of all of that image editing magic. There's one other little bit that I will call out down here. I'm pulling in one other library that's an add-on on top of Skia Sharp, this top-end rich text kit. So Skia Sharp gives you fairly low-level control on drawing text, and oftentimes I wanted the WPF experience of, I have a block of text, I want to set font size, font weight, and word wrap, figure out the drawing position. I don't want to think beyond that. And so that's what this rich text kit is giving me in here. So it's a library on top of Skia Sharp that's, if you're doing anything with text, it's probably very worthwhile checking out. It is a great one. And then you note System.CommandLine unfortunately still has this little beta tag on it. And that's the unfortunate part that we're going to try and bring a little bit closer. So there's a long-term goal of getting this guy all the way to GA. There's an issue log, this beta 4, and there's been similar issues for betas 1, 2, and 3 as well. You can see links to them with a lot of the changes in here of what's gone on. Because this library is still beta, breaking changes are valid, and we're going to make some breaking changes tonight. It's going to be fun. So just be aware, if you are using it, please provide feedback. We love feedback, whether good, bad, what went well, what went poorly, what people like, what people don't like. So if you're building anything that interacts with the command line, please don't parse that string array yourself. Please use something better. This is one of the options. There's okay, so real quick, I detoured, but there's a link down here. We actually got official Microsoft Docs, which is so cool. It feels like a real project and everything. And just to be clear, System.CommandLine is used inside of the .NET CLI. So if there's any question of whether Microsoft's backing this, yes, they're using it to power the .NET CLI. So yeah, that's a thing. But there's a whole bunch of tools inside of here of things that it gives you. One of the coolest things that it gives you that most other CLI libraries don't is a trim-friendly library. So trimming is something somewhat new to .NET, with the idea that when you're building like a self-contained application, you can strip off all the parts of like .NET and other libraries that you aren't actually using. So this is the goal, is to be able to allow people to build small self-contained applications, like tiny little things, because usually with other languages like Go or similar, that's one of the big selling points is I can make this tiny little exe and I can just drop it on your system and it works. That's kind of cool, right? I make a Windows x64 exe and I can just drop it on any Windows x64 box and it just runs. This is one of the features of .NET to try to get .NET on par with that and being able to trim it. The problem is a lot of libraries, you have to go through some work to make sure that you aren't doing anything that would make you not trim friendly. And a lot of libraries haven't done that. This library has. So that's one of the key things to look for if you are wanting to build a command line application, because in a lot of bigger applications, we don't care. If a DLL is 20 meg or 50 meg, like in reality, file size just isn't that big of a deal. With tiny little CLI apps, it starts to matter more. So things that can be trimmed matter a lot. But there is, here, I'm just going to link this too because I'm on a roll. And I will put down the global-friendly version of the link. Boom. Real quick, pro tip for anybody who cares. Just for if you're, whoop, that's not what I wanted. Zoom it, not zoom int. My fingers instinctively go to the INT. If you're ever dealing with, oh, that's not it. I want this tab. If you're ever dealing with a Microsoft Docs URL, you'll note that the Microsoft Docs URLs have the language version right there. What you can actually do is, if you're going to copy the link and send it to anyone, if you delete that portion of the URL out, when somebody opens the link, it'll then default to the browser's locale. So it's a way for me to look at an English link, send it to somebody else, and then if it's localized somewhere else, it works. Sorry, Robert. I appreciate the WPF shout out. I do love it. Okay, so pro tip, if you're doing docs links, that's there. I won't dive into all the other coolness that's in here. There's a lot here. Okay, one of the things that's cool. If you want to get built-in tab completion, it comes kind of in the box, which is pretty cool. So this is one of the other really nice features of turning on tab completion, though it does take a little bit of work. But if you enable tab completion, it'll enable it for the .NET CLI. So when you're typing .NET, you can get tab completion for it. But then if you enable it, it'll also enable it for every app that you use that uses System.CommandLine. So you get it for the .NET CLI and any app you build with System.CommandLine, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Okay, so there's that. There's repo link. Okay, so there's this here. So a long time ago, like December, very long time ago, I opened a PR to fix one of the bugs on this on the GA milestone. And the unfortunate part, there was a little bit of back and forth, and so there was a couple comments in here from Tom had a couple good comments, and I reworked some code, and I believe that's fixed. I believe John's comment is addressed now as well. However, my PR has gotten woefully out of date. Not surprising, since December, there's been some changes. And can be used, or do I need to plug in the Nougat? Great question. So currently, you do need to plug in the Nougat, and you need to make sure that you check the little box for preview Nougat packages when you search for it on Nougat. So if you search for System.CommandLine, you will find it there. But you do need to because it's still in preview status, you do need to make sure that if you're doing the search inside of Visual Studio, that you have the little preview Nougat packages in. Long term, there is a desire to try to put this in the box inside of the .NET SDK. Or let me rephrase, put the base portion of it. So just to kind of mention, because you'll note here, there are several packages, and this doesn't actually even cover all of the packages that are possible. There's actually some source generator versions, like if we look at the source directory, there's a bunch of different things in here. So the only thing that would end up actually in the box per se, would be System.CommandLine proper, the base library. And the goal is to have that base library be fairly usable by itself, similar to what I was trying to show with that streaming tools repo, where you can build something fairly easy. But if you want stupid level easy, you go dragon fruit mode. Dragon fruit it's not as powerful, but dear heavens, it is probably the simplest way. So rather than writing this, you write this and you're done, which is pretty slick. So you delete your regular main method, you write a main method with the strongly typed parameters that you want for your command line, and you're done. Now, there's limitations around this in that it doesn't support like sub-command nesting. It's only for like top level bits. So it works, and it is from a demo perspective, this dragon fruit demos really, really well. Like when you can show somebody this main method and go, well, what would you want to do if you wanted to take in an int and a bool and a file info? That's a lot of work to like do stuff here. It's like, well, what if I just did this? So if you want to play with dragon fruit, it is totally an option. We've gone through different names for these things. At one point, they were called app models. I think the current naming we're landing on is flavors, because on top of every command line library, everybody has their favorite flavor or way that they want to configure their CLI and interact with it. Everyone has preferences, right? Some people like attribute-based models. Some people like Fluent-based models, yada, 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 right? Everybody has their own preferences. And so the goal of the base System command line library is to try to be as unopinionated as possible and expose a really solid API that people can build those flavors on top of. And obviously, we're going to build some that we think are cool and interesting like Dragon Fruit. But it is worth noting Dragon Fruit is, like the base library, a preview NuGet package. But you get all of this out of the gate. Like, you get built-in help. You get built-in tab completion if you enable. It'll automatically convert to a file info. It'll treat these things as optional arguments because it knows what the defaults are. If you slap on XML docs, you'll get nice descriptions in your help output on top of that. You can do fun args and that kind of thing. So it is a little convention-y based, but yeah, if you want to build a really simple CLI app, quick and dirty, it's hard to beat Dragon Fruit. It's really hard. It's really cool. So, okay. If arguments are strings and the file info type is required there, should I put the path to the file in the arguments of the program? Hang on. The arguments are strings and the file info type is required there. Should I put the path to the file in the arguments of the program? Not sure I fully understand the question. But if we take this example, the way you would end up invoking this is it would be my app -- file option space and then the path to the file. And then System.CommandLine takes care of doing that transformation from string into a file info object and passes that file info object into you so that you can then get this type of interaction to work with. I don't know if that fully answers the question. Let me know if I misunderstood that. So you specify your types here, and you aren't limited to primitives. Anything that there is a type let me see if I can get this right. If there's a constructor for the type that takes in a string, or there's a type descriptor registered for it, it'll automatically do the conversion for you. It'll go, I got you. I know what to do. If it's something that you need if it's some custom type where you need more fancy parsing for it, there is some stuff in the docs around model binding. The drawback is if you want to do some of this more advanced model binding stuff, you end up not being able to use Dragon Fruit, and you have to write, because Dragon Fruit doesn't expose all the power of the underlying library. So the moment you want to get into some of this more advanced stuff, you kind of have to drop Dragon Fruit. But I will point out that this is fairly trivial. And actually, these add methods, you can end up just doing a curly brace on the end of root command and just add them in like they were a list. And root command's perfectly happy to just let you throw options and arguments inside of it. Heck, it'll even let you add other commands under it. So you can just start slapping stuff in as you need it. Okay, back to the PR. So my PR is woefully out of date. So what I want to do really quick. So the solution here is a git rebase. And so we're going to end up doing that here in just a minute. But before I do that, I want to take just a quick gander down memory lane because, believe it or not, I don't remember everything I was thinking back in December. Not a shock. I do not have that good of a memory. But I do just want to review some of these changes really quick before we get too carried away, because there are conflicts in many of these files. And I just want to make sure that I remember what the heck I was thinking before we resolve some of these things, because we are going to have to resolve some conflicts, and they might be easy, they might be hard. Okay, so this is going to be a good lesson in doing a painful git rebase. So here's main, this is where we want to be, and here's well, let's just right click on it. Let's see, check out my branch, fix, reset local to wherever that thing is. I don't know what it's doing. Okay, so my branch is way back here, and somewhere way up here is where we want to be. Okay, so a couple ways to do this with Gitkraken. One option is you just drag it and you go rebase. That's one option. I personally like the right click option myself, because click and drag just makes me feel, sometimes my hand is shaky and I get a little weirded out, and I drop things where I didn't mean to, and I accidentally moved a file or something. So I like the right click option. So I'm going to right click, rebase my fix 1469 onto main, and away we go. Oh, and actually, before we do that, we're going to abort rebase. Okay, so pro tip. When you do a rebase inside of Git, what ends up happening, so just to be clear, a rebase, the base of this branch, if we follow the purple line all the way down, is this commit here. What Git is going to do when we say to change the base from here up to here, what it's going to do is it's going to say, okay, I move your base up to there, and then I replay these changes one at a time. Just like as these commits were done previously on your branch, I'm going to replay those commits one at a time. The problem is you end up potentially eating conflicts at each step of the way. Now, in the case of a pull request, I don't care. I really don't care. So step one, we're going to create a branch here called backup, because in the event that anything goes wrong, I now have an anchor point back to backup. So switch me back to my branch. So you'll note the little +1 here. Come on. You crack it. Show me my... Why are you not showing me my backup branch underneath it? Normally on the hover it shows the +1 branch. Just make sure it's still there. You know what, Get Cracking? We're going to reboot you because you're giving me lip and I don't like that. I would like you to work properly, please. Okay. That makes me... See, there. Normally you hover on it and you see your two branches. That's what's supposed to happen. I don't know what you did there, Get Cracking. You're killing me. You're killing me. Okay. So, we're just going to create a quick backup branch just as a... When something goes wrong, I've got an anchor point I can go back to. We're good. We're good. Okay, so step one of the things that I like to do if I'm on a branch, especially a branch that I'm just PRing into another branch, is where I know it's going to get squashed anyway. So when this branch merges, it's not going to be a merge commit. It's going to be a squash merge. What we can do preemptively then before the rebase is I can squash all of these commits together. So what this has done, and it's made a very long line now. So here's our old branch where we were here. But what it did is it took all of those commits, because a commit is just a set of changes on file. Right? If you look at each of the commits, there's some number of changes on some number of files in each of them. And all Git did is go, okay, I'm going to mush all those changes together. Rather than just having a small set of changes, I'm going to have a big set of changes. And I'm going to put it in one commit. And this one commit typically is going... Actually, not typically. Should look exactly like what the PR looks like online, because when you're reviewing the PR itself, you're typically not going one commit at a time, right? We can see each individual commit and look at it one at a time, but ultimately when people are doing PR reviews, they're generally not looking at the individual commits. They're looking at the summation, the grand smushed together version of all your changes, which is what you'd want to review. So if you squash first and then rebase, when the rebase starts replaying your commits, rather than having 6 commits to replay one at a time, it's only going to have 1. Which means I'm only ever going to, if hypothetically, say a file had multiple conflicts because I made changes in the same area multiple steps of the way, you might eat those conflicts multiple times as you replay your rebase. Whereas if you squash it, you only have to deal with it once. And more often than not, especially if it's one of those, well, I made a change in commit 1, but then I deleted that change in commit 3. You still have to resolve the conflict, even though you know you delete the code later on, which is kind of obnoxious. So I generally like to squash first, especially if it's in a case where I know all those commits are going to get squashed anyway. It's not going to matter. So now we'll right click and rebase. And this should have some conflicts. So it shows 7 conflicts, which should perfectly line up with what GitHub showed over here. Because GitHub showed some conflicts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Who would have thought? Exactly the same. Okay, so now let's go through these conflicts. Also worth noting, I tend to really like toggling between this path and tree options as well. Sometimes it's nice to see the folder structure, and sometimes I just don't care. I just want to see the files. Okay, so this one here is a approval test. And And I don't think it's going to matter which way we resolve this. I don't know if it's going to matter which way this gets resolved, because we're going to go rerun the approval test anyway. So let's take the changes on main. And actually, we'll take all the changes on main. So if you check the box up here, it'll do all the changes, because you'll note there's 3. There's 1, 2, and then something further down. But if you check this box, it'll do them all. Let's just take all main for this, because we're going to regen this file for the approval test in a minute anyway, so it's not really going to matter. So we'll resolve that one that way. Okay, this one has some additional usings that I apparently have here that are deleted. I'm going to once again delete these with the idea that if they're needed, there'll be an easy add after the rebase. Okay, and then same thing here, some additional usings. I'm going to take the no usings here, and we'll see about adding them later on. Okay. This is going to be a little more hard. So this has cancellation adding being set to true with some additional comments in here. I'm trying to look and see exactly what happened here. I think this three-way is probably what we want, which is going to look something like this and this. So worth noting, when you're resolving conflicts too, the order that you check these boxes matters, because it'll insert them in that order. So if you do end up wanting to take both sides, you can, the order that you check the boxes matters. The other thing you can do and get cracking is you can actually go, well, I want to set the Boolean, but then I want all of these lines. And again, order you check these boxes matters, because you can technically insert them in whatever order you want. And then I want to add in these lines. So that's a thing you can do too. But I don't think we want either of those things. I think what I want is this. And then I think what I want is console handler. But I want to look down below. Console handler is still existing down here. So this is probably going to end up failing. I'm going to just cheater mode. I'm going to bring both of the changes in. That way I have them side by side. But this change here, where it's assigning to console handler, is going to get overridden right here. So there's going to need to be a logic move of this code. So we're gonna resolve it like that, with full knowledge that that's not going to behave the way we want, and come back and fight it a different day. Okay, so what is the conflict here? So this one added in cancellation token, which was the request. Great. Get default. Oh, this has the words get default invocation pipeline, and this, so the method name changed. So here's how you resolve this one. So we're going to take this here, but we're going to come down here and we're going to go with default. In general, you don't want a three-way merge where you're not taking from either side. In general, you don't want to do this. But in this case, we kind of do. So in general, you don't want to do that, but as long as this output looks like how you want, you go safe. No matter how you get there. Okay, so what do we got here? So inside of the invocation context. So anybody who watches that YouTube stream that I linked earlier, there's a long discussion about invocation context in there. I'll warn you up front. This guy here has binding context and console. And this has binding context here. So this was previously set up here, and now it's set up down here. Okay. So I think what I want is this to start. And then I'm pretty sure I want this and this. And then I want these lines here, but I want them down lower. How do I can't do it? Can I not copy you? Copy you here. Copy. So I actually want these lines here, and I want these to look like hang on, VS Code shortcuts. What is the VS Code? I got too many lines here. Okay, what is the VS Code for multi-cursor? Is it no? That's not it. What is the multi-cursor? Is it? Okay. So Shift Alt down. No, that's duplicate line. What are you? Control Shift down. Control Shift. No. Okay. Fine. I'm just typing it. The Git-Kraken editors actually use the same underlying editor that VS Code has. So sometimes you magically pick up VS Code keyboard shortcuts for free, which is kind of cool. Okay, so this will add that. This will add that. I think that's what we want. Because this is just a lazy initialized property. Yeah. So we don't want this line and we don't want this line anymore. We only put those into copy. Those come in. Those come in. Everyone's happy. Okay. So those are resolved. And now there's a dispose addition down here. I kind of want this. So get cancellation token gets deleted in favor of the other ones. And I think that's correct. I think that's correct. Okay. Save. You have unresolved conflicts. Cancel. Which one did I miss? Oh, this one up here. So I do want binding context and I do want console. I think I actually want all of these. Yeah, I think I want all of those. Okay, now save. Okay, invocation pipeline. This is just invoke async. So this has the addition of the async keyword before the async keyword was dropped. I think what we want to do is do this and delete async. I think is what we because I think I want this, but I think I want to drop the async keyword because there shouldn't be an await in here any longer. There was actually a discussion on one of my YouTube videos on threading about whether you should async everything or whether you should just return the task. And there's pros and cons to each. And in this case, there was actually a significant amount of optimization that went into this library for making the start time as fast as possible, which is not a common optimization that you spend time doing. But for command line apps, typically what you want is when you type something on the command line, you want to go as fast as possible from I hit enter to command line app doing the thing, right? There, you don't want a lot of ceremony in the startup, which a lot of people have asked for things like dependency injection, better support inside of here. And we've really pushed back on it a lot because typically the overhead of building up your DI container is kind of expensive. And you don't want that because it's fine in like a web app or a WPF app that's going to be long-lived, but console apps are usually start, do the thing, stop. And every time you start, you're going to eat that DI startup hit, and it's kind of, it can be a little expensive at times. And so especially if you're trying to optimize for that code path of how fast can I go from invoking main on the command line to doing my thing, you want that as short as possible. Okay, so before we do something crazy like push this, we're gonna open it. So let's see. So magical keyboard shortcut inside of Get Kraken, Alt O will open the repository in your file explorer, which is awesome. And then we're gonna have some problems. Let's be clear. If this works out the gate, I'm gonna be shocked. Actually, I'd be terrified since I know we openly broke one of the tests. Okay, the other wonderful, wonderful thing about this library is this library has a ridiculously high code coverage. Ridiculously high. I've heard John comment before that if you make a change and all the tests pass, you couldn't have been that far off, right? Unless you intentionally like screwed up the tests. It really, you can't be that far. Okay, so I want to find, you know what? Screw it. Run all tests. We're just going to run all the tests because we know we're going to hit that approval test. Hey, Jack, welcome. We are having fun with the System.CommandLine library, which I will shamelessly post a link to yet again. As soon as... No. Okay. Edge, why are you being dumb? Where did my browser window go? I have lost my browser window. There we go. Ah, see? I can use a browser. I'm a real developer. Insert the meme about developers and Googling stuff here. Okay. Okay, so not surprising. We do have some teeny problems. We got a method issue there. And then cancellation handling added is not a real Boolean anymore. Okay, so that's not overly shocking. So one of the easiest ways, so after a rebase, so you'll note, like I'll close this up here real quick. So I'm inside of command line builder extensions. One of the things that's worth doing is coming in back into Get Kraken and investigating what the result of your change was, because this commit is now a brand new commit. The fact that it contains the stuff that was in the old one, completely circumstantial. Completely circumstantial. But it means that I can now look at these changes, and these changes are going to show up as though I just made them. As far as Git's concerned, I just did a ton of work. But I can come in here and go, okay, why is this Boolean dead? Right? Because I'm using it here, but it also shows that it was declared here and then deleted. So, where else was that used? So it was used in the finally block to know if it needed to unregister. Let's see, cancellation token added. So this was registering up to the... Got it. So this is actually no longer needed. Okay, so we can safely delete this, I believe. Pretty sure. We're gonna go with that. One of my tabs is beeping at me and I don't know which one it is. I'm hoping it's not important. This concerns me. Did I leave that comment? Yeah, I did. That looks dumb. And I wrote it. But I wrote it in December, and I probably didn't have enough Mountain Dew when I wrote it. We're going to look at that a little closer here in a minute. Okay. Step one, get it compiling. Then we'll chase the bunny rabbit from there. Okay. Invocation context does not contain a definition for get cancellation token. Okay, so let's go take a look. All I really should ask John how he feels about file scope namespace, because I'm really resisting the urge to just do that. I'm not gonna do it now, but I really, really want to. Really want to. Okay, so let's turn Parnac on. There we go. Okay, so let's come down here. So it is saying that doesn't exist. Now, what happened on invocation context? Because I'm a little surprised. Did I accidentally... Was there a method I was trying to add that I accidentally dropped? So cancellation token. Get cancellation token. Yeah, I think we just wanted to access the... I don't know why. I'm a little surprised the merge conflict ended up like that. It's interesting. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. It's fine. Then once we get this guy compiling, I'll show you the next dirty trick we do with Git. Okay. So all of my stuff previously apparently was calling get. Did I whack this in a merge and think that I shouldn't have done that? I mean, this isn't the right implementation. This is the... Yeah, this is the right implement. Okay, so I don't really understand what happened here. We're gonna go like that. We're gonna go here. Go like that. Which one of my tabs is beeping at me? I really don't enjoy having so much open. I might have to start closing things so we stop beeping. Okay, so that's like that. That's like that. Next error. Okay, invocation in a using statement must be implicitly convertible to iDisposable. Did we accidentally drop that? I thought this guy has a dispose. He does. I'm gonna double check because I'm guessing I dropped that in the merge. And that's the one thing that won't show up here is anything that was on my branch that I deleted as part of a conflict. So you'll note it doesn't show anything here. But I know I saw that previously. And it has a dispose method. So that should be a little happier. Let's try this again. Just pin you for the moment. Just pin you. You stay there. You stay there where I can watch you. Okay. Invocation context cannot be found. So this is probably those using statement problems. And then another one. And then build. And both of those errors go away. And everyone's happy and it compiles and works out the gate the first try. Probably not. That's actually probably more terrible. That is probably the most terrible. Did you compile? Really? Where's my output window? Where's my output window? Let's see. Output. So worth noting, this search view that you're seeing here is one of the things in VS Preview. Just FYI. Build started. Okay, well, I think that let's go with Test Explorer and yeah, run all tests. Probably don't need all of these tests, but there's quite a few of them here. I'm trying to remember how many there are. 2,400. And this will be the API change one. So people who aren't familiar with approval tests are kind of this slick way of taking snapshots of states. So some people will call it snapshot testing as well. But for our purposes, what we are doing is we're getting a hold of the public API, writing that out as a string, and then we've got a test that anytime that public API changes, it ends up comparing the previous state of that string. So you'll note there's an approved.txt. That's basically the first half of our assertion. This is what we expect it to be. So then when there's a difference, there's some cool little testing libraries that plug in, and they pop, you know, in my case, VS Code as a diff tool, showing you the diff between these things of, hey, here's what changed, right? So the public API and an invocation context changed. And we can see, well, it added a system disposable interface. The constructor changed on this guy, probably taking in a cancellation token. Yeah, sure enough. There's now this cancellation token read-only property, or at least publicly, it only exposes the getter. There's this add linked cancellation token, and then there's a dispose method afterwards. Great. That all looks fine to me. So what you end up doing, as long as you accept it, is you come in here. So you'll note command line API has not changed. And if we jump into here, there should be a approved and received. I see the received. Why do I not see the approved? There should be an approved.txt right alongside of this to compare with. Open containing folder. Interesting. Why is one of these showing up and the other one's not? Did somebody filter these out with like a directory build props or similar? Use beta version. That's interesting. And it grabs the directory build props from higher up. What is going on here? I do not remember all of this. Okay, regardless, I think what I want to do, I think I just want to add these things in so I can see them. Why would I not want to see my stuff? It's not exactly hiding all of it, is it? Like, it's not intentionally hiding it. So I'm a little confused why I wouldn't do something like this. Item group, none, include, star.txt. Oh, that's import group. Item group. Probably a little unhappy when I can't do it. Okay, reload the project. I know you're unhappy. I messed stuff up. Really? What is stripping that out? Huh? Huh? I mean, this is a bad idea, but yeah, so what are you? It's like text files are being stripped out. If I set you to none, you just magically, something else higher up is dropping you. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, fine. Whatever. I'm going to pretend like I didn't see this and move right along. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll go here. We will open containing folder. And all you end up having to do, so you can either copy the contents from received into approved, or you can just rename, delete approved, and rename received. Approved. Boom. Done. We'll just check the diff to make sure that doesn't try to do like a deletion on it. Boom. So now the diff shows on our pull request, hey, we're trying to make these public API changes. So really what this does is it makes for a very easy and obvious way of double checking what your public API changes are on the way in. Can be really helpful if you're building a library that follows like semantic versioning and you want to be really intentional about public API or breaking API changes, because sometimes it's easy to miss. Oops, that was public. I've done that myself. So one of those style tests are very handy. Okay, so we'll rerun this, and that one should now pass. Huzzah! Huzzah! Approval test work. Hey, okay, so now we've got some problems down here, and I'm hoping they're all around my cancellation tests, because they're all around root commands. Interesting. When parsing a string array, that's a large verbose name. Let's see, when parsing a string array input, then a full path to an executable is not matched by the root command. That's an interesting thing to be broken, considering I don't... Wait. Not the... Test Explorer, we've got a disagreement on what red and green are. Let's just rerun these real quick. This is a green circle. This is a red circle. I'm no. Huh? Okay. I think we look at this, but I'm very confused as to why I'm getting different results. Between here, is like live unit testing running or something? Is that what? No, you're off. I'm very confused, Visual Studio. And I'm also a little unnerved that none of my cancellation tests are failing. I would have kind of... We're going to review this commit, and I'm pretty sure there's a bug there. Let's see here. Oh, I wonder, is this just a case of... test host net 462. Okay, well, let's start here. So what exactly is the failure here? So append format helper, message builder. So parse error should contain a message that unrecognized command or argument executable path. Okay. Index 0 base must be greater than or equal to or less than the size of the argument list. So this is a string format call that's falling over. Really? I'm kind of inclined to think that this thing's crazy. Because we are in what? Root command and arg, so parser tests. I don't think we even have a change there. Yeah, I'm gonna say we don't have a change there, and there's something a little off here. I'm gonna rerun all the tests again, and then if that doesn't fix it, we may just go CLI on this beast, or go back. I've run into some weird test host processes with Visual Studio Preview, and I haven't been able to put my finger on exactly what they are. But I've seen it's like, I don't know if it's something with this particular system or what. So once again, same failures. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go, because I also have Visual Studio not preview. Let's fire this thing up in not preview. Open project. And boom. Turn off. that. Yeah, something is up with the Test Explorer in my VS Preview, and I might just need to clean, uninstall, reinstall, because I haven't been able to put my finger on exactly what's failing, which makes it hard to submit a bug report. It's not working, I know that, but I don't know what is not working. And I try to do at least a little bit of investigation before. Oh, an update. Oh, that's just the ML model builder. Okay. Pile all the things, do all the stuff. It says unexpected error detected. Check output pane, but maybe I'm blind, but I'm not seeing it. Okay, run tests. And hopefully now we get something that's a little different. And I do have like my live unit testing set to go to a different partition, and maybe there's something weird with that. I've found a handful of weird issues when you redirect default paths where things make bad assumptions at points. Maybe it's something like that. I don't know. I am also noticing that the preview one, we got the little spinners as they were running, and this one doesn't have the little spinners. I don't know if that's related or if that's just an improvement that they've made. Well, there's the spinners. Okay, well, failed. Failed in the exact same way. And once again shows that. Okay, I'm just confused here. Okay, so $p equals boom, because I can't trust my output from that test thing. What the heck is going on here? Let's just look at what's in this errors collection. Show it to me. Okay, so what is in P? P should have an errors. There is an error. Good. Unrecognized command or argument. That seems like it's probably... What is your problem then? I actually don't understand why this thing is inside of an interpolated string. I mean, that looks pretty close. P dot errors sub 0. Unrecognized command or argument, blah, 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 blah. That looks pretty conclusive to me. Oh, and we finish. It runs successfully. Huh? Interesting. Okay, so one, let's eliminate some waddiness out of this. I got rid of too many letters. Localization resources, because this is just checking that the message that the error has matches that. That's all it's doing. And I'm just looking at self-referential collection contains single. Fail with Okay, expected collection to contain a single item matching, but no such item was found. Okay. We didn't change this. And more importantly, the heirs collection should already have all of this. Okay, so that should be all fine. I'm going to pull this out now that I understand that this is being treated as an expression tree. Yeah, because this looks like a linky method. It looks very linky. This is not a link method. This is an expression that's being parsed. And I think it was choking on something. No such item was found. But if I debug it, does it work? Expected collection to continue. Let's see. Can I look at my locals and see what's there? It's not going to show me because I didn't break early enough. Parse. Result gets. There, we'll do something more like that. I'd like to be able to look at this a little easier. Debug test. I'm still very confused why this assertion's failing. It looks correct. What am I missing? Why is this... There's something up with this test explorer. I do not understand what is going on. This might be the part where you format and start over. Expected item to contain... Oh. Parse result errors contains 4 items. Ah. Interesting. So this guy has a space in it, and that is tripping it up. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Environment command line args. Ugh. This method, the more I've learned about it, the more I dislike it. The more I dislike it. Oh, look at that. Yeah, I have a... Okay. So, that's dumb. And what's scaring me the most is I think all the tests are going to pass. Okay. Well, that's terrifying. So something about my system has added a space in that path where there previously wasn't one. Which is how it is passing for everyone else. And I don't doubt that my installing things to non-default install locations is probably contributing to that somehow. What, how, or why, I don't know, but okay, so all the tests pass, which is good. Okay, so we're back in a test passing state. So we're going to stage all changes, amend commit. We now have one commit that looks like we rebased perfectly the first time. This is the dirty trick. Okay, now this guy here we don't really want, so I'm going to put this back to tree mode. Okay. So the CS proj that I was mucking with, you'll note it shows file contents unchanged. So what I'd like to do is take him out of the commit. So here's how we do that. We right click and we do a revert, and we do not immediately commit. We say no. We then unstage everything, stage only the thing we want to take out. Okay, so I've done a revert commit, which is an invert commit. So it does the opposite of what my other commit does. I put the one guy down that I want. I say amend my previous commit. And then I throw the rest of this garbage away. Boom. And now if we look, that one file is no longer a part of my commit. So if you ever run into a situation where you want to remove just part of a commit, that is probably the easiest way I found to do it. So right click revert, do not immediately commit, because that'll make the revert commit a new commit all ready to go, which is fine if you're going to push it or whatever. But if you're just looking to do an amend, don't do that. Stage the stuff you want to take out, throw the rest of it away. Okay, so this is now a little bit different, but I think this is all still fine. Cancellation tokens, disposal, all of this lines up with the changes we expect. Okay, that makes some good sense. What is this guy doing? This guy is changing to context get cancellation token. Is context really nullable here? Apparently. Okay. Okay, so let's check these changes now real quick. So we've got service provider invocation context cancellation token. Kind of want to check that PR out real quick just to make sure that that method change didn't go away. So command line builder now has these additions. I don't think we need those. Let's double check, because that's now the only change there. Command line builder. Are you guys actually needed? Yeah. So you aren't actually needed. So in this case, we just manually made the revert, but we're going to stage, amend, boom. Problem solved. Builder, and you'll note command line builder is now out of our commit path. Okay, so this is now the part that's surprising me. This console handler. Okay, so let's look at command line builder extensions around line 80, because that is not doing what I expect. Around line 8. Huh? Oh, we've got multiple of these. This is in the rendering namespace. I want that one. The real one. I don't want the fake one. The real one. Around line 80. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we have this guy here. But the key part here is what we do here ends up getting blown away. And I think what we need to do is bring this down, delete this, bring these two lines down, and put them here. I think that's what we want. I believe that is exactly what we want. Okay. I'm wondering if this guy should be pulled out and disposed of. We'll deal with that to do in a minute, but let's put that change as part of our other set and then look at that again. Okay, so builder, command line builder extensions. Okay, does this look more akin to what I expect? So this change here is meaningless. We could actually just revert that change if we cared about it. This is the big change of adding a linked cancellation token into our invocation context. That's the change there. We move the comment down. We add the cancellation and we do CTS token. And that guy is now nullable because he may or may not have been set. Okay, so that looks better. That looks better. I'm wondering if I need to localize this message. Check that. I think we localized most of our exceptions. Let's see. Nullable enabled. I deleted that. Why would I have done that? Oh, because we have nullable enabled at the project level, don't we? I vaguely remember doing something like that. Yeah, so nullable is enabled at the project level. So the pound nullable is duplicating that. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so cancellation token, a token that can be used to cancel an invocation. Cancellation token, great. Cancellation token, a token that can be used to cancel the invocation. Great. Great, great. That looks fine. That looks fine. That looks fine. Okay, so I think all of those changes seem legit. This one was easy. That was just switching over to the signature. Why did I... It's like I had... I don't know why we did that. I'm wondering if I should not... I'm wondering if it makes more sense to have cancellation token be a get method rather than a property. And then there's the test. Validating that the cancellation token inside of the invocation context works as it designed. Cancel from middleware. Let's go back and change this up a little bit. Let's see. Parser test, root command, and arg sub 0. Don't I have isn't there a go to recent file? That's what I want. That one. Boom. Okay, and then I'm gonna do that. Do that. Do that. Clean that up just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay. That should look better. View change, stage all, amend, amend, boom. Okay, so if we check that again, it should be fine. So the key part is we dropped it out of the string interpolation syntax because interpolation syntax doesn't do a lot of good for you. And it looked like it wasn't actually showing us a useful error message when it was like that either. But then the fix is the actual quotes around it. Okay. This looks a little bit better. Now, I do want to go back to that to-do. There was a couple things I wanted to look at. Is the to-do that I left in there, and the fact that this became a property when it was previously a method. And I'm wondering if that change should be undone. Let's go back here. I want to look at this pull request. What did the pull request look like before I so rudely got to it? So where's invocation context? Invocation context, where are you? Thank you. Okay, because I haven't pushed yet. So this PR is still pointed at branch from ye olde days. Like when I was young and stupid in December. Okay. So clearly don't need to localize the exception message because the old one was not done. But this here was a get cancellation token. I'm wondering what the advantages are of me having a lazy in here when we could just do this. I kind of feel like we change it back. Yeah, there's no I don't have a good justification why I changed that. So let's go with location context. And that's actually generally a good principle to follow. If you can't justify the change, undo it. Because there's probably not a great reason for it. Okay, so I think what we do is this. Now, there's a subtle difference here, though. This one here is caching the result. I think what we're going to do is just... I think I'm going to bring this in like here. And do it like this. So we'll get rid of the property. We'll leave the method. That way the method can remain the same. But the method is still going to shell out to the switch. You know what? We can do that. Oh, can we not? Oh. I'm too used to target type new expressions. Well, disappointing. Okay. Now let's chase all the bugs that I just caused from that clear change. Okay, so this is going to go back to get cancellation token. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see, next. Get. Wait a minute. Let's see. This is a test, so this is just going to grab it. That's fine. I saw fails. Chase him down. So for just because it's not popping up on my Karnak, if you do the, I'm gonna do this here. F8 is the keyboard shortcut by default to jump to the next error in your error list. Cancellation token. And we're just going to do this maneuver, this maneuver. Oh, this is jump. Right, that was the knowable one that I was questioning earlier. That's the cancellation token there. And none of this should change. We're just changing from a property into a method. Because there is a general principle that properties aren't usually, property getters are not expected to really have side effects. Okay, so this should break one test. At minimum, the approval test should break for this. So let's just rerun it, and I fully anticipate that thing failing on me. I probably still have the thing open. Oh, what a shock. Okay, so copy, paste, save. And then if we rerun this, it should pass. So it's nice that it pops the diff, but in my case, I'm just blindly going to accept the diff and review the changes in the approved file after the fact. But it does make for a nice way for anybody reviewing my PR to know exactly what I have changed. Great, so that passed. Huzzah! Okay, so amend. We've made no mistakes. Everything's flawless. Just check this thing here. So the invocation should have cancellation tokens added to the end of them. Great. Down here we can see invocation context is now iDisposable. And it is disposed. Okay, and I believe there was that do that I left in here, wasn't it? Or was it Invocation Pipeline? One of you guys in here. One of you guys had a command line builder extensions. This CTS is not disposed of. Not sure how big of a deal that is, given that the only time it's not going to be disposed is just prior to process termination. I think we probably do it. Let's go and handle this real quick, because I think this is something we should probably deal with. Command line builder extensions. Let's see. Recent. That one. Okay, so this guy here, and I think what we want to do is in process exit, we want to actually clean this guy up. I think we're going to make him nullable. And I think we're going to come all the way down to here and go CTS dispose DTS. It's not. Because no one should be able to get the cancellation token at that point. We're going to get rid of the to-do. That's now handled. And I think that works. We do have to make the sweeping assumption that we are going to see a process exit, which I don't think is a guarantee. But if we don't see it, I believe the process has exited, in which case I don't care. So I think we're fine. I think we are fine. Yeah, because this is adding the cancellation token source early in the process for something that is much later down. You know, actually, a better solution might be to pull this guy up to here, make him null. CTS gets new. And then rather than disposing of them here, we can do it down below. Yeah, I think that's fine. Can we actually get away with a using? So syntactically it works. I'm not sure this works. What is that going to do? Can you even assign? Yeah, okay, there's the cat. Okay, that's the kicker. I was like, you can't assign to the using variable. That makes more sense. Okay. It's like that doesn't track. But what I can do is down here, I can go CTS dispose. I'm actually wondering if I do, does it matter if I do this in two statements? Is there a possibility here? Because I almost want to grab it, assign it to null, and then dispose of the instance. But the instance will still be... Well, he's closing over this. I think what we're going to do is that needs to be like that, for starters. And actually, this goes away because that is actually already handled. It's interesting this doesn't give me a nullable warning. Is it because it's capturing over that? This should still be nullable because this thing can be nulled out. It's capturing a capture. I'm just wondering, so this is option one. Option two. So you can do an interlocked exchange where you go ref CTS null question mark dot dispose. Now, this looks watty. Like, this looks really, really watty. Oh, real quick. I've noticed I keep doing this. I use terms and I assume everybody knows them. Oh, that one, yeah. Okay. For anyone who hasn't heard the term WAT, this is a worthwhile. This is very worthwhile. This is 4 minutes of absolute gold from Gary Bernhardt, and it is pure gold. One of our interns didn't know the word WAT, and I sent them off with a link to that and told them to consider it homework. I should warn you, do not take drinks while watching it. You are likely to spit your drink all out while laughing. So you've been warned. Don't drink while watching the video. Okay, so this one not necessarily thread safe. This one in a single statement is going to swap the value in that field, or not field, in that variable to null. The return value will be the original value of the field, which we null check with the question mark and then call dispose on it. Versus this one that we null check, call dispose, and then assign to null. So the subtle change that's happened is I've inverted the order of operations. Like this here is more akin to, even if it's Mountain Dew. Ooh. Yes, probably. That's actually worse. Trust me, Mountain Dew spit out over a keyboard, not good. I've done it. Don't recommend it. Don't recommend. Chocolate milk, also bad. So this is more var c gets CTS. CTS gets null. C. Right. So this is the interlocked stuff is functionally closer to this, where it pulls the value out of the local, assigns null in first, and then disposes. The big difference is this is going to be done in multiple instructions. This is going to be done in one. Which means no one can... Because theoretically, I could have someone else off in La La Land that does var foo get CTS from somewhere, right? Because this gets invoked from callback event handlers. So theoretically, I could execute this line first. Somebody could come in from La La Land, get a hold of that guy. I could then assign it to null, but they've already got themselves an instance. I call dispose, they try to act on the instance. And then they get an object disposed exception. It's not great. Not great. I think, though, if we do this, this is better. I think I like this better. This is definitely much harder to read. Definitely harder to read. We're going to go with it. We are going to go with it. Okay, so once again, view changes, check, check, check. This guy here is removing the to-do. Moves that out. I'm going to make this a separate commit, actually. Handling to-do. To dispose of CTS. I'll spell it out. Cancellation token source. Okay. Push. Now, you recall way back when we did the rebase? Anytime you rebase, it is a straight up force push. Do not click the happy green looking button if you've just done a rebase. Because what Git is acknowledging is that you have both a down and an up in your history tree. Because fix 149 locally is up here. Old fix 149 is way back over here, the one that's out on GitHub right now. Is way back over here. And so in order to synchronize these two things together, it's going to have to go, starting from this one over here, it's going to have to go down 6 and then up 77. And so if you try to pull, it's going to do this weird thing where it tries to synchronize it. And in this case, what we want to do is tell GitHub, no, trust me, I'm the developer. Reset your branch pointer to right here. Do it? Yes. And it is a destructive operation for branch fix 1469. But, this is why we made a backup pointer. Because normally when you force push, this pointer just disappears. These commits go poof because there was nothing pointed at them. So when in doubt, before you do anything crazy with Git, or if you're experimenting or whatever, just make yourself a backup branch. No harm, no harm. It always gives you a point that if something goes wrong, you right click on your backup branch and you go reset hard, which just says pick my branch pointer up and drop it right here. Don't think, just do. And away we go. Okay, so that should, crossing fingers, the test passed locally. That should, so now we've got a big refresh. Big refresh. And you'll note the commits all changed and everything goes. Okay, so I think, so yeah, so this thing's gonna go and build. As you can see, there's a handful of builds that get run on this repo. Just a few. But they test in every possible configuration one could come up with. I won't say all configurations, but yeah, you can tell. Windows debug release, Ubuntu debug and release, straight from source, managed case, which I think is something about licensing for like Linux and something open sourcey. There's some rules around why they have to be source compilable for reasons that I don't remember exactly. And then of course Mac, because we have to make sure we work on Mac, and then all of this. So they've got a list of pipelines going on here. So the people who manage this stuff, I do not pity them. They have, like, Microsoft has built a massive infrastructure around compiling and releasing libraries. They kind of had to. So they've got it down to a science. Like, I watched one of their wizards set this up, and it was impressive to watch how quickly it went from 0 to full system with full localization and all of the licensing checks and blah, 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 blah. It's like, whoa, you did that really quick. It's like, well, we've kind of built it all out. I'm like, that's impressive. Very impressive. Okay, so let's take a crack at one of these little ones. Because I have half a can of Mountain Dew left, give or take. Okay, so we're going to snipe one of these things real quick. This one's actually probably not a bad one to snipe. This is one of the ones that came up earlier in the API review. This was just one of those kind of confusing APIs when people were looking at them. Is right now there's some methods on parse result called get value for argument, get value for option. Great. The problem is when you're using them, you kind of have to do multiple dots. And the idea was that most people code by IntelliSense. They see a thing, they go, ooh, what can I do with this thing? They type dot and they look at what's in the IntelliSense menu and they pick the most obvious option. Or in my case, I do whatever the GitHub Copilot tells me to do, because that's how it works now. The AI tells me what to code and I say, yes, please. But it does say we should also simplify the naming. And so this should be done on invocation context. It should be done on parse result as well as on symbol result. So I can't assign this to me, but I got it. I got you. So 1785. So we're going to come down here. So step one, whenever you take on a new issue, new branch, create branch, fix, boom. And then we are off to the races. The key part here, I'll just call this out for people who may not always catch this, is find your default branch, which is usually main or master on nearly all repos. Some people have like a separation if they're doing like a git flow type setup where maybe your starting branch is like called develop or something. Check with your repo if you see it. But in general, you can usually, the default setting is you start from the default branch, which is almost always main or master. You right click, new branch. And in my case, when I'm doing these things, as you can see my naming scheme, I use fix issue number. Boom. Okay, so let's go hunt. So we want to add these to invocation context. We want to call them get value and yada, yada, yada. Okay, so this is so normally the starting point is write the unit test first. But in this case, I don't think we're going to, because in this one here, I think this is where the methods exist, is on this guy. We're making signature changes, and so I kind of want to just make the signature changes and then chase the compilers. So these are the ones here. Get value for argument, get value for argument, get value for option. All right, so these guys all in here are the kickers. And I think what we're going to do is we're just going to do mass rename. We're going to call it get value. Boom. And I'm trying to remember, were we supposed to, I know we're adding these to invocation context, but are we supposed to get rid of these off of parse result? So this is just add to invocation context, but we should also do this rename on parse result and symbol result. Got it. Okay. So when in doubt, read the directions. John is good at writing directions. So this should really be get value, and it's going to squawk at me for a minute. And then get value. I assume you don't have any inherit docs on you. Good. I assume symbol result is the base that we're inheriting from. Get value, get value. And then we're going to go up to symbol result. Get value for option. So this is, yeah, so here's symbol result. So here's the other one that it was on there. So we want to do rename, get value. Boom. It's interesting that this thing is inheriting docs from parse result get value, but I think parse result get value is now inheriting. Oh, interesting. So that's clever. It wants to resolve the, I don't know how to tell it the correct one to use in XML docs. That's a good question. How do we disambiguate this? Because I want it to be this overload. Can I just do something like that? Okay, that makes sense. If I do that, so that is kind of funny that this thing is. Oh, I guess this one is. I see. So this one's getting it. So everybody's getting their docs from the non-generic overload. Got it. That kind of makes sense. So then this becomes get value. Boom. And then becomes option. And then this one. Oh, look at that. Go IntelliCode. Do it. Yeah, buddy. Okay. Get value for argument. There is one more in here. See, I changed 4 before, so I kind of expect to find another one. Oh, come on, IntelliCode. You can do it. No. You fail. I guess it did have the suggestion up there to do it. It's a little creepy when it says in other files. I always hate that. That one always scares me. Okay. So now we've made a big mess. Let's see. That goes like that. That's not what I was looking for. Show me the other compile error. Or is it just the one? It's just the one I missed? So, this is worth noting. When we say we're willing to make breaking changes right now, like this. So, if you're using System Command Line and you're calling one of those methods, I apologize. They're about to get renamed. Oh, this is interesting because this is an auto-generated code. Oh, that's fun. That is fun. I mean, at least it's going to be easy. So this is going to be, let's just do a quick hunt. Get. Huh? Oh, is it inside? Oh, it's probably buried in one of these. Where are you? Delegate invocation, blah, blah, blah. Turn pattern. I don't remember. I wrote these and I don't even remember. There it is. Get value. So there's the argument one. Option one. There's that. There's that. Let's just check the rest of them while we're in here. So this was a source generator that I built on top of System Command Line, again, basically to try to just register the command handlers. So when you invoke a CLI app, at the end of the day, some apps may have multiple commands. So for example, the example that often gets picked on in the docs is like .NET, right? So if we do, like this, right? So this is a command, this is a command, this is an argument to the command, This is an option, and the option has an argument or a value that goes along with it. So we would call this the root command. This is a subcommand, and obviously your command chain can get deeper as we go. But the key thing to note is that commands are kind of like routing in like websites. When you figure at the end of the day, you may write a bunch of like controller endpoints, but ultimately when somebody does an HTTP call to your site, it's only going to hit one of those. Only one of them gets to respond. Same thing with CLI things. Only one command gets to respond, but that command may take in arguments. It may take in options. Some may be required, some not. So that's kind of the structure of it. But building up that handler for doing the invocation can sometimes be a bit of a pain, so I wrote a source generator for it. So it is another optional Nougat package that could be included if you would like to. Okay. Let's do that build now, and that should fix the generated errors. Okay, so that made the generator happy. It's now gonna play nice. Okay, so that should still fail a single test. That approval test should now once again fail because we are now making breaking public API changes. So the test rightfully fails. Let's see. Test, explore, run all the tests. And this is going to be the best part. So this weekend is the 4th of July holiday in the United States, Independence Day. And my family typically celebrates it by doing a big family reunion. So I'm going to be gone all weekend, off camping where there will likely be no internet and no computers, which for some people sounds amazing. For me, sounds like a bit of a test of patience, but what do you do? That finish and we'll rerun it. Ooh, we broke something down there. Interesting. We'll have to go look at that. Probably something resolving the wrong overload now. But it means that I get to open up all these pull requests and then run away for the weekend where no one can yell at me for them. So let's take a little peek-see down here. What do we do here? Oh. We're going to ignore these. These are those same two failures. I almost should put them in a separate PR. Yeah, whatever. I'm going to ship it. We're going to ship it and let the CI system yell at me if there's a problem. It's got to be because my stuff is installed differently. So just checking the thing here, just going to visually check all my changes to make sure we haven't missed it. Oh, we did miss something. We were supposed to add this to invocation context. That was the main thing. We did the secondary things, and we didn't add it to invocation context. Okay. So the idea here is, and this one, at least you have a super USB bracelet with you as a reminder of your connection to the computer world. That's right. For anybody who didn't see it before, quick show it up. My wife got me a cool bracelet for Father's Day. So, hold it up. So, it just looks kind of cool, but when you pull it apart, whoop, USB-C on one side, standard USB on the other. Which I think is pretty cool. So I always have a USB-C cable to charge my phone or whatever with me, which will do wonderful when you're camping with not a lot of access to electricity. So a minor detail. Which will make for an interesting camping trip. Some of my aunts and uncles have RVs, so that will be helpful. My son has a feeding pump, and the feeding pump has a decent battery on it. But the battery is only like a 16-ish hour battery. He's 5. And we run the pump while he's asleep at night. So that's usually close to like, he gets somewhere between 10 and 12 hours of sleep a night on a good night. We'll see how it goes camping. We may not get much sleep. There's a very real chance of that. But given that, we kind of have to charge his feeding pump because we're going to be gone multiple nights. And if I only have 16 hours of battery life and I need to run 10 to 12 hours a night, that kind of means a charge. So we're kind of banking on being able to poach some goodwill from my family of, hey, can we please plug this in and charge? Otherwise, I've got a little power inverter for the car, but then that means I have to like drain my car battery to charge this pump. But that comes with other problems. All that to say, we were adding in methods. And I think what we really want is, I think I want all these. Yeah, I want all these methods. And I kind of want them all to go, let's see, put them down here. Paste. And we're going to have to go write some tests for these. But we're going to start with this. So we're going to start up at the top. And this is going to be parse result dot get value arguments. We'll do that. And this is just gonna fall forward. It's not gonna do anything fancy. Parse result, get value. Right, so we're gonna do the same thing here, nothing fancy, just gonna do nice little inherit docs. Same thing. Let's see. Parse result, get value. Oh, this should be option, not argument. Option, argument. Okay. This is here, so this becomes Bing and Bing. And we want to change this guy here to match this one here. This guy here to match this one here. And I did not do a good parse result. We'll do that. And I think what I'm going to do is reorder these just a little bit, because it makes more sense to me to have, I don't know if there's a reason they were grouped the way they were. Because technically it was option, argument, option. I think I'd rather group by option rather than argument. So we'll do that. That seems fine. Okay, so let's do invocation context test. I'm sorry, what? We don't even have a test class for this? Like, I know it's tested, but we don't have direct tests for this guy? Really? Oh, is it just in model binder tests or similar? Oh, that might be, hang on. Naming convention, well, we don't want to do the naming convention ones. There's invocation pipeline tests. I don't really want to test it there. The binding context is probably the more. Yeah, this is probably a better option here. So arguments are bound by name to constructor parameters. So let's just come down to the bottom. Just add it down here at the bottom. Let's see. Fact. Public void. Let's see. Get value with generic option turns value. We're gonna do something like this, and then we are we're gonna, let's see, what's the easiest. I think the code I saw up here was just doing a parse on a command line string was the easiest way to get all the way into there. Yeah, I think this was something like this. Why is this doing create option? Oh, because this is your way of doing the non-generic. Okay, fine. We're gonna do We're going to do something akin to this. Okay. Come on down here. So this is going to be a command. The command volume with what we said generic options. So we're not going to do that. We're going to go new option of int. We are going to give it number, something like that. Get out of here. Get out of here. I think what we actually probably want to do is pull this out, though. Our option gets something like this. And then the command line for this is going to be the command -- number. And obviously, when you have a number and you need a random one, the only correct answer is 42. I blame my boss for that. Well, sort of. At my office at work, so my boss has a love of Princess Bride movie, which is a hilarious movie, wonderful watch, highly recommended. But they have named all of the conference rooms at work, at least the ones in our upstairs portion, after the Princess Bride. So you can schedule meetings in the Pit of Despair, or the Fire Swamp, or King Humperdinck's Castle. It's rather entertaining. Okay, so if I do invocation context, get value, I should be able to pass it option. And this, let's see, should be 42. Something like that. And then the test passes and everyone's happy. So for people who may not have seen Fluent Assertions before, yay, green circle, works. This is just an alternate way of writing rather than doing something like assert equal. A lot of people like this, just the way Fluent Assertions read, and they tend to generate somewhat nice error messages. So I don't have a strong opinion of them either way. Some people like them, some people don't. I'll roll with whatever is there. Let's see, non-generic option. So we're gonna get rid of that guy. And let's see, so an option that's non-generic, can you even instantiate it, or do I have to go through the builder? Yeah, I think that's why the builder thingy exists. So actually, you know what we could do? We could still do that. This actually is going to resolve to the other overload. You can see here, this is resolving to non-generic option. This is resolving to generic option. All because of what's specified here. So that should also work. Great. And then we're going to do the same thing for arguments. Down here with generic argument. This becomes argument. And in this case, we don't even have to give it a name if we don't want. And because arguments, you can almost think of options like named arguments, is what some libraries will call them. So in this case, it's literally just, if you picture the command as a method, argument is just the parameter to the method. It's a little rare to have commands with lots of arguments, but it's fairly common to have commands with only a single argument or two. So those happen quite a bit. So let's see, that goes there, get value. This is the generic one. Once again, should be 42. I think I hit debug. Great, passed, lovely. One more test, just to make sure we got all this covered. Man, trying to decide if I like the name of the test or not. Let's see, we're gonna do get rid of that. That should resolve to the other overload, which it does. Huzzah. I'm wondering if this should have the words invocation context in front of it, because generally I just use the name of the method under test. But in this case, because the class isn't specific to invocation context, it's model binding in general. Invocation context. Kind of feel like I should prefix it like that, just to be really clear what's being tested. Boom. Okay. Okay, so that works, that works, that works. I'm gonna push it. Real quick review. We added that to invocation context, option, 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 argument, 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 argument. We're good. Stage. Parse result. Looks as expected. Symbol result. Looks as expected. What's the naming scheme for the test names? That is a great question. So, my opinion, and I will say this, is a good naming scheme for test names is model binding test. The test name should communicate three things. It should communicate what is being tested, the conditions under which it is being tested, and the expected outcome. So in this case, these test names in this library, just going through the Explorer, you'll note they tend to be long, verbose, like snake case level sentences almost, rather than an actual naming scheme. But when reading these, when parsing a string array, a root command can be omitted from the parsed args. From that, it's pretty easy for me to figure out all the like what's being tested. We are parsing a string array on a root command. Okay, that's what's being tested. The conditions that it's being tested can be omitted from the parsed args. Okay, so we are omitting it from the parsed args, and I'm assuming it doesn't explicitly say here that the expected outcome is it parses. Kind of implied a little bit. So yeah, so there's an expected string outcome of what it should be. In this case, it's doing 2 parses and comparing the output to assume that they parse the same. Great. So in general, if you are trying to name a unit test, if it covers those 3 things, you're probably in good shape. So once again, what's being tested, the conditions under which it's being tested, and the expected outcome. What about the casing? It seemed that there was multiple casing conventions being missed at time. Is that intentional? So on the ones I did, yes. So, and I agree it looks a little weird. The only reason I capitalized and went for the Pascal case on this on these ones here is because I was trying to call out that get value was the actual member on the invocation context class. So in this case, I did the extra casing specifically around the idea of these are the actual member names rather than these are sentence things, because get value, if I end up doing this, I can very easily see somebody not realizing that this is not the method name and they think this is more of a generic sentencey version of get value. So in this case, yes, the casing here was intentional, and the lack of an underscore for the spacing was intentional, just to try to communicate that these are identifiers or method names or member names. So we'll see if that gets flagged in code review, because you're right, it does stand out a little bit against a lot of these, but there is some prior art about calling out very explicit member names or identifier names like this. There are a handful of places where that is done, where, like, for example, property info. This is very specifically trying to hint around the system reflection invocation. Where is the property info in this? Model binder type. Oh, get property. There it is. See, this is why var is hard to read. System reflection property info. There's the property info. So, but just from this name, I knew what I was looking for, that I was looking for an actual property info instance. So if that helps. Great question, though. Great question. Testing is definitely one of those areas that it's deceptively, I don't want to say it's deceptively difficult, but it's kind of deceptively difficult. Like some people, like I see unit testing get a lot of flack online from people, and oftentimes it's because it's not being done well. Okay, so we're gonna real quick, just before I click the button, I'm gonna hit run. I expect the 2 failures, and I'm going to ignore them. Let's just make sure that all of these changes match what we expect. Argument parser, option parser. These are just inside of that source generator. Those are all of our new changes. So generic argument, non-generic argument, just kind of checking the names to make sure that I didn't botch them. Generic, or I should say non-generic option, non-generic option, generic option, generic option. So seems reasonable. And then these ones were auto done. See, this is why we double checked. Apparently my approval test failed. Oh, right, because I added those extra members to invocation context. So that is unexpected failure. So paste, save, close. Let's see. So suggestion dispatcher, probably the same thing. Yep. See, we probably have a lot of changes in here that we never had to look at because I did the Visual Studio refactoring when I was doing the method changes. So it just changed them all for me throughout. Oh boy. We're going to scan a couple of these changes because they all compiled. And I don't think we ever opened this file. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a thing. Okay. Get value, get value, get value. Get value, get value, get value, get value. There's going to be a ton of these. We did pick on one of the quote-unquote easy issues. That's okay. The later it gets in the night, the easier the issues I should snipe. Sort of the way that goes. Okay, parser. There. Checking it, checking it, checking it, checking it, checking it. Great. 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 Just to call this out, quote board. On Get Kraken, if you pay attention to your right-hand side, like this is oftentimes how I'm quickly jumping around to different ones. And also how I can look at it and go, oh boy, rainbow merge. So there's a lot of little information encoded inside of that scroll bar. So definitely worth keeping an eye on. Okay, and then the approval tests, we accept that. Great. Okay, so that should be in good shape. So let's put out a useful comment. So rename members to get value will be our title. Let's see. Added get value methods to invocation context. Renamed get value for option and get value for argument on parse result and symbol result classes. Great. Is there anything else we changed? I think that was it. Just double check that API change. Those should be the only ones in there, right? So there's the additions. There's the rename from get value for argument and get value for option on parse result. And there's the rename on symbol result. Okay, cool. So test confirms it. Let's just run this guy one more time. So we've got 3 failures, and I assume only 2 of them we're going to ignore because we know that they're pathing issues on my system, and they're likely a result of me not using default install locations. We're just going to ignore those 2 test failures until my other PR merges and fixes them. So now to open the PR. As much as I hate, so you can right click and create pull request, but we're going to just drag down and drop onto main. So you'll note I haven't even pushed my branch yet. Push. It asks me where I want to push to. I have to push to my fork because I obviously don't have permission in a Microsoft repo. And then it automatically opens up a PR. Check the from, check the to, create pull request. Booyah. Oh, I really should have put, hang on, edit, fixes, pound, 1785. Because if you put that magical thing on there, GitHub then automatically links your PR back to the issue, and then when this thing merges, it closes the issue and everyone's happy. So this PR is now cleared to go. This PR is now cleared to go. And the GA milestone inches a little bit closer. Some of these ones in here are not terribly difficult. If anybody wants to try to take a stab at some of these aren't too difficult. This one here is actually just moving some stuff around. So it kind of ignored the description up at the top. The key changes down here, John outlines them, of remove this namespace and move its 2 types up into here. Great. Move parse result into the root namespace. Remove iCommand handler into the root namespace. So this 1680 is a pretty easy one if anybody wants to snipe it. It just moves a few things around. And then you too can be part of something that hopefully makes it all the way into the .NET SDK, which is kind of cool. You can say you help contribute to the .NET SDK, which is not a big list of people. And I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. Split into too many namespaces. I think this one is just a deletion of an API. Yeah, this one here, unparsed tokens. Legacy double dash behavior. So what this was is at the end of your command line, you used to be able to do something like .NET build and then dash and then my option 42 or that kind of thing, right? And so it basically, for CLIs that wanted to forward command line arguments downstream, the double dash was a way of saying, hey, basically ignore everything after this and treat it as an unparsed token. Like, just feed me those tokens, but don't do any parsing with them. Those aren't for you. Those are for something else. The thing is you can get this same behavior without this obscure double dash bit just by using argument of string array. And then your CLI gets the string array, and if you want to pass it downstream or do something with it, go for it. It's kind of a nice way of like combining the, hey, string array is really easy in my normal main method. How do I get part of that functionality and still use this cool typing stuff? So this one's probably also another fairly, I haven't looked at it too closely, so that one's possibly pretty easy. Don't take this one, it's already done. That's another thing to look at. If you see this symbol next to an issue, you probably don't want to take it because it means there's a pull request open against it. So, completions for multiple arity options. What exactly is this one? Options is required argument arity from among. Get completions. Oh wow, this is an interesting one. System string cannot be created without a custom binder. Interesting. So the nice part is this one clearly links straight into where the problematic code is. I don't know how trivial this is going to be to fix. This one may not be too bad, because it's making a bad assumption that from among is going to be an enum type when it should handle arbitrary types. But again, I'll drop the milestone. If anybody is interested in taking a swing at these, like I said, there's a push on right now to try to get this whole list, this little 89 to 100%, so that we can GA this thing and get it out the door. So we're going for it. We're going for it. And some of these things may or may not end up getting punted too. I don't know what this one is. Is this one? Oh no. Yeah, okay. I will warn anyone who looks at 1758. This one is deceptively difficult. Deceptively. It is so simple and yet so painful at the same time. And it will make you hate all command line parsing libraries forever. Yeah, it is kind of insane. I was joking with John about it, that because the test app is about as stupid simple as you can ask for. Something as simple as, for each R and args and console write line, and then console write line environment console or environment command line. You would not believe the differences between these two. It is shocking. Now, admittedly, they're usually bad. Hey, what happened? They're usually bad on cases that the Mac build failed. Take a look at it real quick. Student error. I'm immediately inclined to think that this isn't my fault. Given that one just passed, I'm going to wait and see. The fact that one passed and one failed strongly hints that something may have gone wrong. But for this one here, let me see if I can find it real quick. There's a very fun picture. Woo! That was not what we were going for. Do not minimize all the windows. I wanted some windows. Must turn off arrow shake. Now, I'm going to warn everybody, once I show this picture, you cannot unsee it. And it's going to ruin you. So, where is it? Where is it? It wasn't that far back. The cursed image one is when this issue first came to light. John unfortunately shared it with me 22 days ago. What is 22 days ago? The 8th, give or take. Yeah, this right here. Okay. I'm sorry to everyone who I'm making look at this. And if anybody wants the hard link into it, there it is. Yeah, so you can do echo space hello quote space quote world. So normally people who do a lot of like command line stuff with file paths are familiar with like the cursed program files, where you always find the cases where somebody forgot to quote a file path because program space files breaks, right? Apparently you don't have to quote the outside of the file path. You can just put quotes around the spaces. Please don't do this. Please, please, please don't do this. But in investigating this string splitting thing of how do you appropriately split an incoming string into a string array, there are use cases like that, which are just wrong. Just wrong. Yeah, and you can see it's linked back to this thing here. Yeah, cursed image. So I'm sorry for. Yeah, so this one I will warn people. This one is deceptively difficult. But the one thing I did mention to John, I was like, well, this feels like something you can unit test your way to victory on, is the starting of this is write a bunch of tests. And the tests are going to have what look like ridiculous assertions of things like that, which make no sense whatsoever. Yeah, I'm going to go with the pipeline must have fallen over, because it's not outputting a test failure either. So those, I'm going to just have somebody re-kick those, or I'll force push something. So yeah, just be aware. Deceptively difficult. Start with writing a slew of tests and then beat the code into submission until all the tests pass. And yeah, be fun. So I think with that though, I am probably going to go see if there's stuff that I can help pack up. It's 11 o'clock. I might just sleep. We don't have to leave until like noon tomorrow, thank goodness. So it's going to be a morning of busy packing and all kinds of other stuff. So for those people in the US of A, happy 4th of July. And please stay safe out there. To everyone else, happy coding. See y'all next week.